Good morning, good morning, good morning. I wanted to come on today to address my post from yesterday regarding my departure from Spring Lake Memorial Missionary Baptist Church. I want to first and foremost just thank the church family, those who embraced me, and those who loved me. Thank you to the McCoy family. Thank you to the late Reverend John McCoy, who stood me before the church within my first few weeks and gave me a public charge to lead his music. And Reverend McCoy sat me in his office and he said, I want you to rebuild my department. When I got the orders to come to Spring Lake Memorial Missionary Baptist Church, I wore it as a badge of honor because one thing about the churches in Spring Lake is that all these churches had a thriving music ministry, and Spring Lake Memorial was one of them. So watching the music department as a child, I was so honored to come. Well, when I came, some things had changed, unfortunately, but things happen, things change. That's just life. Reverend McCoy said, I want you to rebuild. And that's what I did. And I saw a need for growth. I saw a need for the youth. I saw a desire. I saw their passion. I was told at the beginning that the choirs that I was tasked to work with couldn't sing. And, oh, they can't sing. I don't know what you're going to do with them. They can't sing. I made it my business to prove them wrong. Now, that might have been in self, and that might have been a Jared thing, but I had to. When I looked at the first Sunday choir, which was then the mass choir, I said, we need to get some young blood up here. And I did that because a ministry with no youth and young adults is a dying ministry. And what you don't want to do is ruin the legacy or ruin something by not allowing no one in. You got to keep the door open for new blood and a new generation. And that's one thing that we did in the first Sunday choir. And the youth choir went strong. There's a few people I want to thank. I want to thank Kenny McCoy. I want to thank the McCoy family. I want to thank the late Reverend John McCoy. I want to thank my cousin Cootsy. I want to thank Michael Granby, Shanika O'Neill, Latasha Hairston, Data Ross, Paul Rivers, JJ, Mr. Ron, everyone who worked with me in the music department, Burgess, everybody who worked with me in the music department who kept it going, because it was a team effort. It wasn't just Jared. It was a team, and we were a family. And I'm just so thankful to God that he allowed me to leave a footprint, as my mom said, in that department. Even though I'm going on, even though I'm moving on, my footprint is there. And I won't be forgotten. And that's my thing. I want to build legacies. I don't want to just come and go. I want to build legacies. I thank God for what he's done for me at that church. I learned a lot at that church. There's a lesson in everything. There's a lesson in all things. And one thing about me is that, yes, I'm peculiar. Yes, I'm over the top. I may do too much at times in front of a choir. But one thing about me, I do it from my heart. And God has blessed me to do music. And when I do music, that's genuine. That's just what it is. But in my time at Spring Lake, I decided to perfect my craft. And that's when I went back to school in 2018. And I got my certification in voice, my certification in piano, my certification in songwriting. And I was taught rigorously. And we went through hours of training with Professor Alec at Manna University on how to properly set up a musical order of worship. And I love that because I was already doing it. And unfortunately, I've been a little ridiculed about being too proper or being too polished or being too trained or something like that. I don't care who doesn't like it or who does. I wear it as a badge of honor. Anything that you excel in, it's imperative that you perfect your craft the more you go. There was one time when I was just a local choir director who had watched his mama his whole life in front of a choir, who got down there and did what he knew he could do just off of watching his mom and getting trained by her. But over the 20-year span that I've been doing choirs, I had to perfect my craft. And now I'm in avenues and on platforms and on stages that I wouldn't have been in 10 years ago when I first came to the church. God is good. I'm holding my head up high. Nothing lasts forever. And people need to remember that. Nothing lasts forever. Y'all, excuse how I look. I look a mess. Lord. But nothing lasts forever. And one thing about me is that I gave people who might not have felt like they had a voice to sing, who might have been told they couldn't sing, who might have been told that they were incapable or incompetent or inadequate. I gave them confidence. One thing that many members have called and said to me in the last 24 hours is, Jared, you gave us confidence. You weren't mean to us. You weren't cruel to us. Your humor kept rehearsal light. We had a great time on Sunday morning. We learned new material at every rehearsal. We did not sit around in rehearsals talking about people. We didn't sit around trying to tear down other ministries or other sons. We didn't do that because we had a job to do. We had a charge. See, some people know you from the back. Jared used to be off the chain. I still am in some areas. But one thing about me is that I've matured. I've been through too much, y'all, I'm not putting up no foolishness. I used to roll my eyes as a child when my mom would say, pick your battles. But God knows that thing stands for me today. I'm not fighting no wars or no battles that aren't going to do me any good. The fight for what? God has blessed me in so many other areas, y'all. And because of that, God's going to continue blessing. You keep God first. Like the song I sing says, I walk with God, and I'm going to continue walking with Him. Everyone's not going to like you. Everyone's not going to like how you come. Everyone's not going to like how you minister. But if you stay true to what God has given you, the doors will open regardless. I love you all. I love you all. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about the departure. Don't worry about why I'm moving on. Think about all the good that has happened. I love you, the John McQuay Gospel Choir. I love the fact that I orchestrated changing the name. I love you, male chorus. I love you, New Voices for Christ. I love you, everyone, the deacons, those deacons who've called me in the last day. I love you all. The new pastor and first lady, have love for y'all. I also want to thank Reverend Smith. Reverend Smith is such a man of God with so much wisdom. And he's just an all-around pillar of knowledge. And I thank him for how he's encouraged me so heavily during my time there. He knew the adversity I was facing. He knew the attacks that were coming left and right. And he always instructed me to hold my peace and do my job. And because of him, I lasted as long as I did. Thank you, Reverend Smith. And thank you, church family. And I love you all.